Hey, we've got Sham here to talk about the Atri web framework.
Thanks, Kara. Thanks everyone at GitHub Accelerator for this opportunity. Last 10 weeks have been very wonderful journey. We learned a lot. We did a lot in last 10 weeks. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Sham Swarup. I am the creator and maintainer of Atri framework. I go by Sham Swar in Twitter. Atri Labs is YC Winter 23 company, and we are behind the Atri framework. So the problem that we're trying to solve is that web developers have to maintain code and no code projects separately, most of the time using different tools and different frameworks for that. So we want to build we started this journey to build a web framework where developers code the entire web app and create drag and drop zones for no code development. So where other team members or different teams can participate and fill in the rest of the website. So let's quickly jump into the demo. So everything in our framework runs locally. So you see, like, this is the visual editor, which is very much inspired from Webflow, which runs on by default on port 4000, and it comes with with widgets and component trees and many other features which are similar to any other drag and drop editor. So let's see how it looks in the code. So this is how the code look like. So you see this pages directory, which is very similar to what you find in Next.js. So many times we say that our framework works like Next.js and Webflow combined. Here our dev server is running locally. And here we see this index.tsx file, which is like the index route. And we have a canvas shown here. This is, you can say, an innovation in our framework, which allows you to do drag and drop. So you can sprinkle canvas zone anywhere in your project, and it will create a drag and drop zone where other team members can drag and drop and create their own, create the rest of the website. So let's say I drag and drop a button, and here we have the live preview. I can see that button got created over here and this page reloaded. So let me just, I have the production view over here running at localhost 2001. Again, everything in our framework runs locally. So now, as you can see, we have like other pages over here. If we come to this visual editor and go over here, you can see all these pages over here as well. Now, all these components that you see over here, Atri framework ships with some of these components out of the box, but you can create your own components for drag and drop, or you can create your own component library and reuse it in as many projects as you want. To do that, the process is very simple. In your project, you just have to create a manifest directory. For example, in this project, inside manifest directory, I have created around 4 or 5 components. So for each component, you have a TypeScript or a JavaScript file and a manifest file. The manifest file describes how this component will interact with the visual editor. So, and for example, over here, this framer flex component, this is actually just a React component that uses framer motion for some animation effect. So we can find the same component in the visual editor if we go over here, and we can see this framer flex component over here. So all this animation that we see over here is due to that framer flex component. Now, yeah. Now, we have just released this version 1.0, and we are gathering feedback on developer experience. So yeah, my request to this audience will be to provide us with feedback on how the developer experience is. I think the best way to do that will be either create a new discussion in GitHub discussions, or you can join our Slack channel and participate there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pass over to Tim Stiles to talk about Bebop Bio. Tim, I think you're muted.
And now we're not, yeah?
Yeah, now you're good.
Oh, thank goodness. You just gave me a heart attack. All right. A little nervous. It is a demo day. I have a little bit of, jitters here. But hi, everyone. I'm Tim, and we are Bebop Bio. We're the missing framework for engineering organisms. So we're going to put a little bit of context here because we're not a web framework. We're a bioinformatics and synthetic biology framework for doing advanced genetic engineering. And so when we originally applied to this accelerator, we applied to two separate projects working together. The first was Polymerase, a Go package for engineering organisms made by me, Timothy Stiles, and my most excellent collaborator and friend, Nishant Jha, created the life-size UI kit Mesh UI. So we're really merging like these back and front ends that haven't been there before. And they may seem like these are tools you have forever, but Nishant and I have kind of pioneered this space, which is strange because you think it would have existed before, and it has in these weird little things. Historically, we're still Bebop Bio. Together we're Bebop Bio, but historically, wow, I forgot my slides entirely, but let me just explain what genetic engineering is real quick. And so genetic engineering is this incredibly potentially glorious field that we could use to engineer better crops, better medicines, better clothing, more sustainable environments. It's sort of like, there's this incredible human potential to engineer biology to do the things that we need as humans. But also, it's very memeable. And I think this cartoon does a great job of expressing that. Spider-Man is talking to a villain who you can't believe that this villain's engineering himself on the fly with DNA, but he doesn't want to cure cancer. And it turns out that some people just want to make dinosaurs. So we're looking for this glorious realm where we get beyond the space of having scarcity and having issues with food, medicine, housing, hunger, and get to the point where we can actually have a little bit of fun. So historically, some people do just Jurassic Park was a documentary, Kara, not a movie. So the past was paper. Genetic engineering has actually been around a very long time. We've been doing some forms of genetic engineering since the 1970s. And when we had our first genomic data bank made in 1978 by NCBI and various international collaborators, most of it was on paper. We started getting CDs when CDs came out, and I think there were cassettes. But even today, you can find books where you can just open up a whole book, and it's just one chromosome of human DNA letters, A, T, C's, and G's. And so some people still just sort their DNA via paper, and like bioinformaticists will have thought this, but I swear we had a user study recently, a user test study, and they're like, yeah, we're sorting DNA using paper. Okay, so the past was paper, and now the present is paper and sort of these Excel sheets. A lot of people are still working in Excel. And what we're moving to is this open core framework that's modern called Bebop. And so what we're doing is we're merging this beautiful UI kit that Nishant's made with this really, really solid genetic engineering software backend that I've created in Go. And we're presenting it in a way where other developers don't need the biological context to develop for scientists in the lab. One of the biggest hurdles for developing scientific software is not the fundamental technology. Sometimes it is, but a lot of the times it's the rich domain context that you can't expect a developer to learn in a year or 2 years or 3 years. And you can't expect the scientists to be able to accurately convey that. So what we've done is we've abstracted this so that we can now visually represent things like plasmid editing, DNA editing, and just general genetic constructs. And behind it is is the initial library that we made, polymerase, which makes it very, very simple to pick out every single gene in a genome, look at it, and design pieces of DNA that are used to copy it out physically and create libraries of individual genes that you could find in the genome. Because genomes have a lot of extra stuff. Some people call it junk DNA, some people call it dark DNA. The scientific term is ultra-conserved elements. We don't know what it does, but it's important. And so what we're hoping to do is reach this glorious new future with our software where we can have our users whimsically create dinosaurs or try and engineer new Pokemon. If you didn't know, Pikachu's actually based off the North American Pika. It would be really cool if he actually could generate electricity, even though I doubt that is possible. And so we just really want to thank GitHub for giving us this opportunity. We spent a bunch of time learning how to turn some open core projects into open source projects to a true open core enterprise SaaS product. And Kara and Abby and Rima and the entire GitHub team have been great. The cohort's been amazing. I've enjoyed talking with them so much. I think it's one of the most valuable parts of the program is we get all these amazing developers together and we go, hey, this is hard. And we go, oh yeah, this is hard. You can share feelings that other people normally wouldn't have with each other. And so we've enjoyed this so much that we're looking for more partners. We're kind of going to miss the GitHub experience here. So thank you so much. And if you want to get involved in genetic engineering software, we need users, investors, devs, and collaborators. So please just give us a shout at hello at bebop.bio and www.bebop.bio. www.bebop.bio. I made it across the finish line. How am I doing in time, Kara?
You are perfect. Thanks for sharing all with us, Tim. We're really excited about what y'all are doing.
Thank you.
So next up, we've got Rodrigo Pombo talking about CodeHike.
It's like pick myself off the screen.
And for those who are watching on YouTube, it sounds like we didn't have sound at the beginning on YouTube. So after Rodrigo, we'll do our little intro again quickly and give you some more context. We'll do that after you learn about CodeHike.
Right. Unmuted, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So CodeHike is a library or a tool to turn Markdown into this type of website. Think of technical blogs or documentation sites, or there are people even using it for videos. So it takes care of syntax highlighting or highlighting pieces of code, showing multiple files together, annotations, more types of annotations, and some interactivity things. This it can do several components. This one is what I call scroll coding, when you scroll the code changes and also the preview. And we do all this but the idea of CodeHike is to make it very simple for authors to write this kind of content. So we use Markdown, or MDX, which is basically Markdown. And you see here is, for example, that scroll coding component. And the syntax is basically Markdown syntax. There's nothing strange here. And well, this CodeHike uses React. So to use it, you need to use a React framework, like for example, Next.js. Everything in CodeHike is customizable with CSS. So here I have an example of a clone of a guide from Stripe, for example. And this is using the scroll coding component from CodeHike. And you can see it's a very different style. And it's very powerful also. And I can't click here. Give me a second. Okay. So here I have another example. This one is a clone of the Tailwind CSS homepage. And here we have also different components, and it's also built entirely with CodeHike. And the cool thing about this is it's built with Markdown. It's basically all Markdown and CSS. It's very declarative and has several components. Also the themes here that we use in CodeHike, we have an editor, and it basically uses anything from VS Code. You can edit it if you want, change some colors, and then use it on your website. And what else? Well, here I have yet another website using the scroll coding component. But since we don't have too much time, let me show you one more thing. So one component that we are starting to see more and more on documentation sites is now the chat component. Like many documentation sites are adding a chatbot powered by AI that help you solve your problems. So during the accelerator, I started building this component, the chat component. It uses a similar layout to the scroll coding component, but it's a chat. So here, this is hitting it's live. It's hitting the OpenAI API. You can even change the model. GPT-3 is very fast today. I don't know what's happening. And well, this is the chat component that I'm building, but this is the website that I'm building to test it. So there are two things here: the component that I hope to open source soon, and so other people can use it on their website. And this is a website that I'm building to test it. It's public. It's sherpa.codehack.org, and I'm looking for feedback so I can build a very good component. But it's only right now. It's only open for CodeHack sponsors because the OpenAI API isn't free. So, and limiting the users to sponsor, but you can sponsor CodeHack and use it. And well, I find it very useful. It already replaces most of my ChatGPT usage. And now if I have any question, I ask Sherpa. Well, I think that's it. If you have any questions, you can find me on Twitter. I'm Pomber, and there you will find links to CodeHack, there's a Discord too. Well, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Excellent. Next up, let's see, we are going to have Evan Almoff talk about Dioxus Labs. There we go. Hey, Evan, welcome.
Hello. Need screen sharing working. Okay, can you see my screen?
Not yet. Let's see. Aha.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah. Here's zoom, scoot it over again. Right now I can just see that. Yeah, there it is.
Great. Yeah. So Dioxus, it makes it easy to build user interfaces that run anywhere in Rust. And here is an example of that. This is an application built in Dioxus that targets 4 of our platforms. Dioxus can render on the server and the web using WebAssembly. You can render on a web view for mobile and desktop, and you can render in the terminal for simple applications. You can also render using our experimental WGPU renderer without a browser. Here are 3 applications that are built with Dioxus. So the first is Ebu. It's a Mastodon client that uses Dioxus WebView to render to the desktop. Next, Skytrace is collision avoidance software built by Airbus that uses Dioxus Web. And finally, Uplink is a peer-to-peer chat application built by Satellite that uses Dioxus WebView to target desktop and mobile. During the accelerator, we've been working on making development of Dioxus sustainable and working towards the 0.4 release. Dioxus got into the summer Y Combinator batch, And in Y Combinator, we plan on continuing development of the core framework, but also building tools around Dioxus that we can use to fund the open source work. FutureWay and Satellite have created contracts with Dioxus and are funding developments. We've also gained a lot of traction. We got 2,000 plus stars while we were in the accelerator, and a whole bunch of more work has been put into the core framework. In the 0.4 release, just our next release, we're going to include utilities for full stack communication between the server and your web or desktop client, a redesigned router that makes it impossible to link to pages that don't exist, improved mobile support, and reimagined documentation. In the long term, we want to make Dioxus the go-to library for cross-platform applications at scale, and scale in 3 ways. First, we want to make it so that your app is performance as it grows. We also want to make sure that it's easy to scale to new platforms. So if you want to target mobile or web VR in the future, you can do that easily. And we want to make it so that as your team scales, your application scales with it, and things aren't constantly breaking. And as part of that, we want to build a native renderer for Dioxus. As part of this, it's called Blitz, and then create cross-platform utilities that work across all Dioxus renderers and move towards stability. If those things sound interesting, you could join our community. The reason Dioxus is open source is because of the amazing open source community. And we can't achieve those goals, the goals we have for Dioxus, without the community around it. A good way to get started is to pick up a good first issue on GitHub, answer some questions on Discord, or contribute to the ecosystem by creating a library that builds on top of Dioxus. We also have office hours starting this Friday. It's a great place to work on your first pull request. Every Friday between 9 and 10 a.m. Pacific time, Dioxus will be hosting office hours. It's also a good place to discuss problems, ideas, and talk about the future of the project. You can find the time at the bit.ly link here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Go. Okay, so for those who joined us on YouTube, I know that we lost audio at the beginning. So I wanted to say a few words again for those who missed it. So we're here to celebrate the GitHub Accelerator. And these are the 20 open source projects who participated in it. So we're really passionate, obviously, about open source over here at GitHub. And one of the problems that face open source maintainers and projects is how to reach financial sustainability and stay around, for a long time. So we're tackling that problem with GitHub Accelerator. It's an experimental program where we give 20 projects $20,000, and then we do an intensive program over 10 weeks where we meet regularly. We have industry-leading speakers come in and have conversations with these projects to help them figure out what financial sustainability looks like for them, because it looks different for every project. So at the end of all this, we're very excited to be here and have the projects show you what they are, what they've been working on, and we're all going to be keeping a close eye on what they're up to next as well. So let me pass off to, what do we got next? Oh yeah, we've got form bricks. You guys are gonna like this. Oh, there we go. Just a second, it doesn't want to let me spotlight you. There we go. Okay. Hey.
All right. Hello. Ready to rock?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Cool. So welcome to FormBricks. So what is FormBricks? We are an open source experience management platform. But what does it actually do? And it helps you asking the right customer about their experience at the right point in time in their customer journey, so you can make the right customer-centric product or business decision. And then why would you need that? You would need that because many teams sit on products which grow similar like this. And everyone wants to do something that looks a lot more like this. So you want to have like hockey stick growth. And to go from kind of working to really working, you not only need to know what your users are doing, but you actually need to understand why they behave in the way they behave. And you can do that by talking to them. And you want to do that continuously, and you want to do it within context, and in a big organization, you want to do it at scale. And you don't want to do it with like risking survey fatigue by asking too much. You don't want to waste dev attention or developer attention, and you don't want to break your carefully crafted user experience. And that is essentially what Formbricks is doing. So Formbricks is a scalable way to make customer-centric decisions based on data, all privacy first and all open source. So let's have a look at how it works. So what you see here is Formbricks setup, and we'll walk through four brief surveys. So we have an onboarding survey, we have an intention-based follow-up, we have an interview invitation, and a churn survey. And all of that makes a bit more sense once I walk you through it. You can see on the left side the people view, and on the right-hand side is a demo application. It's like a demo GitHub, very bare bones. And I just signed in, and in the onboarding survey, we asked, why did you sign up? And we sign up to contribute to open source. And then how big is your company? It's like 1,000 to 10,000 people. And now we are logged in, and we can see here, once it's updated, that the metadata about the user is already stored in Formbricks. Okay, so we have the email address, we have the internal user ID, we need it later, we have the name, and then we have been tracking some events. And here we already see the onboarding survey data. So then, you know, as a GitHub user, I have been contributing to open source projects, and this might be my third pull request. And then I want to ask, so how do you rate your experience of getting into open source with the help of GitHub? And I say it's very good. And then we can ask a follow-up question, what is the hardest part about it? And then we see here that this was the intention-based follow-up. So the question was specific to what we already asked in the onboarding survey. So you get a lot more granular data, a lot more high-quality data than just asking very generic questions to all of your user base, for example. And then, yeah, we see here that we have like a happy user, and then understanding the code base was the biggest issue. Now let's say we're checking out the pricing page, and we have already set the attribute that it is an early adopter, and when you move out of the page, for example, and then we have an exit intent, and then we can invite this person to a 30-minute interview, and then we offer them a 20% discount on any plan. And if they say, okay, book a slot, then they're taken to the scheduling software. And all of this is also reflected in the people's page. And then at the end of the lifetime journey, they might want to cancel the subscription. And that usually happens that after they cancel, they get logged out because the account is not accessible to them anymore. And then we pass the user ID in the link URL, and then this is how we can attribute the data to the same user. And let's say I was missing features, that's why I was churning, or that's why I'm canceling. And I would prefer, I don't know, or something like this. And yeah, so if you now look at the person, we have to rework the data handling a bit here, but if you look at the user profile, then you see that over these very different touch points, you get one user profile over the churn survey, the interview invitation, and then the intention-based follow-up. And then at the very beginning, we had the onboarding survey. So you get all of that gathered here. So Formbricks makes it possible to, oh, let's switch back. The time is running on. No, it's here. Yeah, so who's using Formbricks at scale? We have Cal.com. Last week, they launched a survey to like thousands, tens of thousands of users with great success. Never installed, as you can see here, 5,000 people responded. So they're already getting great insight. And if you would like to have, astronomic growth, rocket fire growth, then today is a good day because we're launching our XM Experience Management Concierge service. And for that, you're getting a kickoff call with us, an in-depth analysis of your experience. We do a custom research design, so like custom surveys where they should be implemented and triggered. We do tech support to get you started. And then at the end, you get a report with next action steps to get a better user experience. And because it is a day of celebration, we offer it at a hefty discount. So if you schedule within the next 24 hours, you can save $2,000 on the GitHub demo day deal. Thank you very much. Go to formrix.com/deal and yeah, schedule a kickoff within 24 hours. Thanks a lot. You are muted.
I am muted, but no longer. I'm gonna turn on this. There we go. And let's see who we've got up next. We've got Carson. Let's hear about htmx.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, let me spotlight you though. There we go. Okay, you're good to go.
Sweet. All right, my name is Carson Gross, and I'm gonna be talking about htmx today. I applied for and joined the GitHub Accelerator through my company, Big Sky Software, which makes a couple different pieces of open source software. I applied with Dennis Aksimsek, who's a kid from Turkey who works with us on htmx. htmx is probably our most popular project, and so we really wanted to focus on how could we make htmx obviously more successful in open source software, but also how could we make it more sustainable. So htmx is a front-end library, yet another front-end library for web development. It's a little different than other types of front-end libraries in that it's hypermedia oriented. And so what that means is that you add attributes to HTML to drive dynamic behavior rather than writing a lot of JavaScript. And so the way that's achieved is with some attributes that you put on HTML, sort of similar to the href attribute that we'd use on an anchor tag or something like that. There's a series of sort of core attributes that let you drive interactive behavior from those HTML elements. So hxget and a few other ones let you issue a particular type of request. hxtrigger lets you have the request issued on a given event, and then you can place the response that comes back, which should be in HTML format, anywhere in the DOM using some other attributes. So kind of a different way of building web apps, very similar to the sort of more traditional way of building web apps with just links and forms. This is an example of an input that's being powered by htmx, where it will issue an HTTP GET to the search URL when a key up occurs, and then it'll take the results from that request, the HTML results, and put them into the DOM, the position of the element that has the ID results in it, and it does it in a particular way. So that's a very short and not complete example of what you might be familiar with from the web active search, when you're typing into an input, and then the results update as you're typing. This isn't a complete version. You can check out on the htmx.org/examples page. There's an active search example. You can see all the details to make it work 100%, but this gives you a flavor for what the app looks, or for, excuse me, what the library looks like. One of the primary focuses in GitHub Accelerator for us was, what are we going to do in htmx 2.0? htmx 2.0 is going to be pretty similar to htmx 1.0. We don't want to break htmx 1.0 users' code. htmx moves a lot more slowly and doesn't break things when compared with other front-end libraries. It's mostly going to be an API and code cleanup. We're going to drop IE support. We support IE and htmx 1.0 kind of as a meme more than anything else, but we do support it. So we're going to drop that. But there is one big new feature, which is the morph swap. And the morph swap, it's actually, there's this old idea of taking a DOM, a web page DOM, and rather than just replacing that whole thing, taking it and mutating the existing elements on the page to get it into a new form. And this has been around for a long time. There's a library called Morphdom, which I think is almost 10 years old now, that does this. What's nice about that is it keeps things more stable. Things like focus and user entered input and so forth kind of sticks around, rather than when you replace HTML, all that stuff can get lost. And we've been working on a new algorithm called Idiomorph, which is an updated take on Morphdom that tries to keep things a little more stable using what are known as ID sets. And htmx 2.0 is going to include that algorithm as part of the core, just out of the box library in what's known as a morph swap. And so this button here, for example, is configured to use the morph swap. This is an htmx 2.0 feature. And so just to give a quick demo of what that looks like, I've got a page here with a bunch of videos on it. And if I click play on this video, you can see it's running. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this details button, which is just that code that we saw on the previous page. And you can see the page completely changed. And that was a normal HTML exchange. This is just a new page that has that video at the top. But what was interesting about that is that the video kept running. And the video kept running because we were using a morph swap. So we were actually able to keep that video element in the DOM, preserve it, and just shift it to a new position on the screen. And so I can hit the back button and the video keeps working, and I can flip back and forth and the whole thing keeps working, which is pretty cool that it's able to do that in a pure HTML context. There's no userland JavaScript. That button at the end of the day is just this code there. So exciting new feature. It'll allow for a lot more complex behavior within the hypermedia model that HTMX uses. And it addresses a lot of corner cases where HTMX can be sort of annoying if you've got like various things going on. So it's just another neat tool in the tool belt for people that want to use HTMX and the hypermedia driven methodology that it uses. We do have a book. It's a big thing, like one last thing before we get out of here. We have a book coming out if you're interested in hypermedia and how to use hypermedia to build web applications. It's called hypermedia.systems. And we're hoping to have a hardcover out here in the next couple weeks. And you can read it today for free at hypermedia.systems. And then you can follow us follow me really on Twitter at htmx_org, which is a pretty silly Twitter account, I have to admit. So thank you for coming to my TED Talks.
Thank you so much, Carson. I thought that I put very clear instructions for the demos that there was no Rickrolling allowed. And I guess you read that instruction. Next up, we've got Simon Willison to talk about Datasette. Oh, Carson, can you stop sharing your screen?
I think I can. How do I do that?
You're gonna have to do Simon.
How do I do this? Back to meeting. I click back to meeting and then what? Oh, there it is. God, it hides it so well. Stop sharing. Perfect. I'm out.
Fantastic. Hey everyone, my name's Simon and my project is called Datasette. So Datasette is a collection of open source tools for finding stories in data. I originally built it as a tool for journalism, but it's increasingly clear that everyone else needs to find stories in their data as well. If something helps journalists break stories, it's useful to basically everyone else on the planet at this point. Datasette is a Python web application. You can run it on your laptop or you can host it on inexpensive cloud servers. But the barrier to entry in terms of using it, especially if you're a journalist who doesn't know what Python is pretty extreme. And so I've been trying to reduce that friction as much as possible. I built this. This is a Datasette desktop, which is a Electron app that wraps all of Datasette and installs it for you with Python bundled and so forth, so you can get up and running it without needing to know how the software works under the hood. And then I also built this. This is Datasette Lite, which is a version of Datasette that runs entirely in the browser using Python compiled to WebAssembly, which is an extraordinarily powerful trick. It's really, really fun seeing how much you get done in the browser these days. But to really unlock the power of Datasette, especially as a collaboration and publishing tool, you do need to run it on a server somewhere. And I've been looking for a way to make the project financially sustainable. And not just for myself, I want to pay other people to work full-time on Datasette with me. So I've been building this. This is Datasette Cloud, which is a paid software as a service hosted option for Datasette. And I'm going to give you a quick demo of this right now. So the idea with Datasette Cloud is you can create a space, which is a private area for you and your team to collaborate on and access data. I'm going to create one called Accelerator Demo. I can pick where in the world my instance is located. In this case, I've said I want it in Sunnyvale. I create space, this boots up a new container, and now I've got a version of this software running. And I'm going to pull some data into it. The city of San Francisco has an open data portal with like 400 CSV files about the city. This is one of my favorites. This is all of these city facilities. These are buildings owned by the city. I can paste that in there and click the button, and kaboom, it's imported that data with all of the metadata about the columns and things. And then Datasette has plugins which can do things like spot latitudes and longitudes and plot them on a map. I'm going to facet by city to get a better feeling for that data. You can see that there are 1,500 properties in San Francisco, but 113 in Groveland. If you click through on Groveland, I can see a map showing that what's going on in Groveland. This is actually a camp operated by San Francisco Parks and Recreation. So I can navigate around with that. I can get the data out of different shapes. I can get it out as JSON if I want to integrate it with other software. I can get it out as CSV to load it into Excel or similar. And there's another plugin here which lets me get it out in dozens of other different formats. So if I want to copy and paste out a markdown table for use in a GitHub issue, I can click the GitHub option and copy that out there. I'll show you one more feature. I can configure search against this data that I've imported. So I'm going to say, you know what, I want to be able to search by the common name and the address columns. I hit that button, and now Datasette adds a little search box. So if I search for a keyword like jail, for example, I can get back just I think it's 4 records in this data set that mention jail in their common name. And again, I can export those out as CSV or JSON or what have you. So there's a lot that this software can do. You can run all of this yourself. You're absolutely welcome to. I've got very detailed documentation on setting this up. But the idea with Datasette Cloud is I want to have that one-click and go experience so that organizations, particularly newsrooms, but also any organization that has data that they need to collaborate on and analyze, can load it into Datasette Cloud and get started that way. I should mention each of these spaces a dedicated container using Firecracker, and I've been building this on fly.io, the hosting provider, using their Fly Machines technology, which makes it very easy to spin up a container for each of these customers. 2023, got to talk about AI. I've been experimenting with a bunch of different AI-related features. This is one I built that's a ChatGPT plugin that can plug into your Datasette instance and then let you answer questions using SQL queries. So here I said, what are the most popular plugins? And ChatGPT figured out it should run a select query ordered by Stargaze account, got the results back, and then presented them back to the user. And that's kind of cool, but I feel like we can do a lot better than that. If you just provide an answer to someone's questions, it's very easy for weird mistakes to go unspotted. So I'm starting to work now on interpretability. I want to show not just the answer, but as much supporting information about how that answer was come to as possible, little snippets of SQL with explanations and snippets of tables that the data came from. And I also think that it's important that the prompts used in these things should be visible and modifiable by users as well. So if I piqued your interest, you can sign up for the preview of Datasette Cloud at datasette.cloud. The official project website is datasette.io with details of not just Datasette, but the 100+ plugins that have been developed for it as well. And you're welcome to come and join us on the Datasette Discord, datasette.io/Discord. And yeah, please come and talk to me about this. I love talking about these projects.
Thank you, Simon. If you folks are thinking about running any kind of accelerator in the future, please invite Simon because he takes the world's best notes. If we did it again, I would pay Simon to be in the accelerator all over again. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Eddie and Sarah, who are going to talk about Linkfree.
Hi everyone, my name is Eddie and I'm the project founder of Linkfree. This project started out on a live stream in September 2021. The truth is I needed an idea for my usual weekly live stream, and we decided to create an open source alternative to the link sharing platform, Linktree. The next day I woke up to so many GitHub notifications of amazing new features, pull requests, issues, ideas. And then from that, Linkfree grew into a place not only where you can share your links, but also where you can, a way to discover users and their amazing content. So whilst there are several alternatives out there, we stand out because we're fully open source and we are focused on the tech community and we focus on collaboration first, code second. Here is what a complete profile looks like. In addition to your links, you can also add events, milestones, future goals, and testimonials. There's also a stats page which users can log in using their GitHub account so you can see your profile views and your link clicks. Any suggestions, feedback, questions, please leave them in the GitHub discussion shown in the link at the bottom of every slide. A big aspect of Linkfree is wanting to bring people together. And as a digital nomad, and as someone who goes to events around the world, I was keen to geek out with the tech community when I visit their city. So we introduced a map which shows users and their location. This is a great way for users to reach out and connect in person. The location is retrieved from their GitHub profile and can be filtered further with technology tags like React or DevOps. I get asked so many times on social media, what events am I going to? Or when I post about an event, people will say, oh, I wish I'd known about it. I was just around the corner. I would love to attend. So we introduced the ability to add events to your profile. And you can filter these events by, are they online, in person? Is there a CFP date? And what is the price? And then all these user profile events are then combined and displayed on the main events page, which we group together to dedupe events.
So following Eddie's demo, the next section of our presentation is actually to let you know what we have been up to during the accelerator. So I'm Sarah, and I'm one of the maintainers on the project. Firstly, I'd like to start with the Linkfree repo. At the outset, the Linkfree maintainers were the maintainers for our other Eddie Hub open source projects. But during the accelerator, we learned the importance of taking a pause and really looking at the super important role. As a result, we refreshed our maintainers, bringing new community members on board. But I would say that perhaps most importantly, we have written documentation for our maintainers. This included specific guidance on how to deal with PRs and issues on the project, guiding them on how they can interact with contributors, and also empowering them to decide where they want to focus their valuable and voluntary work on this project. Additionally, we developed a process for onboarding and offboarding, as well as a rewards program as well. I would say that personally, branding was the biggest challenge we set ourselves during the accelerator. A shout out needs to go out to our accelerator cohort and the speakers for sharing their knowledge on this and helping us make decisions. We also had several conversations with people in marketing as well as founders. And as a result, we now have a promotional video on our website. You can see a still of this on the screen. We've instructed an agency so we can develop a logo and branding guidelines. And the hardest part, perhaps, is we have decided on a new name for Linkfree. The domain has been purchased, the social media accounts have been created, but we won't be telling you about that today.
Now I want to take you through what else we have done and decided during the accelerator. So aside from performance improvements, accessibility improvements to existing features, we have introduced the following new features. By popular demand, we now have dark mode. And also, originally, the profiles were managed only by JSON. But we recognize that some users may wish to change their profiles quite frequently and introduced a way to manage their profile via forms. This was a challenge, as we didn't want to store the data in the exact same JSON structure. However, we wanted to support both ways of managing and creating profiles. We started the accelerator with a lot of ideas on how to fund Linkfree. We knew we wanted this project to be a SaaS platform and self-funding, but until then, we've decided to be bootstrapping. So funding the project ourselves, both through our personal funds, but also GitHub sponsors and applying for open source grants. So what have we got planned for the next few months? We're excited to share with you our high-level roadmap, which we've been thinking about throughout the accelerator.
And we wanted to conclude our presentation with 2 calls to action. The first one is we would absolutely love it if you would create your profile. You can do that with JSON or through forms.
And our second call to action would be to start a Linkfree repo. If you want to geek out with me every day, you can. I'm in the Eddie Hub Discord, and we've got so many amazing people in there as well.
And we wanted to say thank you to GitHub for selecting us for the accelerator, but also to our cohort. We have so enjoyed getting to know your project and have really appreciated your feedback. To everyone watching, please don't forget to add your thoughts to the GitHub discussion. Last but by no means least, we wanted to say a big thank you to our organizer, moderator, and hype person, Cara. Thank you very much for everything that you've done.
Oh, you guys are too sweet. Well, speaking of the cohort, I know you've already chosen a name for Linkfree, but there's a lot of free ideas in the cohort chat over here. So we've got link paid, link bootstrapped, next link, linked out, free link. So we can't wait to hear what you've chosen very soon. There we go. Ooh, then we've got Mockoon, yes.
Hello.
Hey.
Okay, so normally my screen is shared.
Looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Hello, so my name is Guillaume and I will present Mockoon, which is an open source API tool that I created 5 years ago. So it started with a problem that I had. I mean, I had to mock an API, which is quite common when you integrate APIs or when you work with APIs. And I found that this API development thing can be a bit slow and sometimes also a bit tedious. You have to create accounts, you have to provision credentials. APIs may not be available during development. It creates a dependency between teams, especially front-end and back-end. So, I mean, API mocking is the first mock you have usually. And I wanted to create a tool that is API mocking first, not API design first, but API mocking first. And I think it's important. And yeah, sorry, should be full screen. And so we have Mockoon. So what is Mockoon and the promise of this tool is to help you create very easily and quickly any API or REST API mock that you can think about. There is no remote deployment, cloud deployment needed, no account needed. It's free, open source, and it's literally, I mean, your new mock is literally 2 clicks away, or maybe 5. I didn't count exactly, but it's very, very fast. It's mainly a desktop application with a CLI, so you can bring your mock API in the cloud, in your CI environment, GitHub Actions, Circle CI, whatever. It started as a side project 5 years ago, so I said it in 2017, and it grew consistently during 5 years, and now it's a full-time job. And also why a full-time job? Because due to this growth, it became more and more demanding, more support requests, feature requests, bug fixes, marketing, you know, writing content, writing tutorials, and it recently crossed 400,000 downloads. So I mean, at my scale, it starts to become huge. So I decided 2 years ago to focus full time on this project. And the audience, so monthly active users, doubled in the past year. And when you have this amount of user, you better find a way to sustain your work on this project. Because I did it, as I showed here, as a side project, evening, nights, and it wasn't viable anymore. So when you want to make an open source project viable, I mean, or sustainable, you have multiple choices on sponsoring, enterprise support, creating a SaaS, huge amount of work, give training, etc. But it's easier said than done, really. And I struggled a bit in the past, and enters GitHub Accelerator. So this was a huge surprise, and I was thrilled to learn earlier this year that my project was selected to be part of the first cohort. And it was really, really helpful. Everything, figuring out how to talk to enterprises, what they expect in terms of, you know, security, audit, benefits from a paid plan, etc. How to onboard new contributors, how to find sponsors. It has been a huge help. And I can say now that Mockoon is a bit more sustainable, not completely sustainable yet, but I mean, it's taking the right path, I can say. So it has more sponsors every month. And I released 10 days ago the new Pro plans, and there are already some subscribers, and I'm negotiating some support agreements with 2 or 3 companies. So it's on the road to be sustainable and to stay also an open source project, which is something I really want. So now demo. The promise of Mockoon is to be really fast. So I say that it's mainly a desktop application. So you have a need, you need to imitate, simulate, mock an API endpoint. So you just create an endpoint. And for example, you want to simulate users. Sorry, not the right copy paste, but you want to simulate fake users, for example. So you create a body, it supports templating. So you create fake fake and dynamic data. It's using also Faker.js. You press play and you can call your API. And every time you call it, at least with this setup, you will get something different with random content. And you can start working immediately with your front end, or you can integrate that in another backend, etc. And part of the Pro plans, what kept me busy in the past month, is the addition of many templates that are already ready to use, and that will accelerate further the mock API creation. And there is also an AI assistant. So for example, if you need an endpoint to manage invoices, you can just go to the AI assistant, write invoices, wait for OpenAI to respond, and then you get a fake API template that you can call it like that, and you get random invoices. You see, payment method, deposit is paid, true, etc. And you can start prototyping in no time. You can go a bit further because there is also a proxy mode. You can record everything that is entering to reproduce all the endpoints automatically. You can create multiple responses, like a 500. You can serve the responses depending on, wrong tab, depending on rules, for example, if the header authorization is present, absent, etc. So you can create very, very complex mocks. And with the CLI, you can take that to the cloud or to your serverless environment. I will not demo that now because we have a short schedule. So join us. Create your first mock API. I know that a lot of people ignore that you can API or mock APIs really quick like that. It's not always about API design. You don't have to create a huge open API specification file. You can just prototype in 2 minutes. So join us. You can check the public roadmap also. If you want to know what is coming next, you can join us on Discord, GitHub discussion, and I will be very happy to answer any question you have. And there is a mandatory coupon that you can use if you want a discount on the solo plan, if you want to try it. And join us. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Here it's evening.
Thank you so much, Guillaume. I'm going to pass on over to Wasim to talk about nbdev.
Hey, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. Hi, so we are nbdev. nbdev lets you write, test, and document software using Jupyter notebooks. So you might ask, why would you want to do that? Jupyter notebooks are polarizing. Take these 2 opening slides from very influential folks in the community, for example. First, on the left is I Don't Like Notebooks by Joel Goose, and actually in the same conference a while later, I Do Like Notebooks by Jeremy Howard. So I've personally worked with many colleagues who strongly dislike notebooks. Some even believe the notebooks weren't suitable for serious engineering. Despite those strong beliefs, I and some of those same colleagues always start new projects in notebooks and then copy-paste the results into separate files for code, tests, and documentation. And I find that odd, so there must be something going on there. I believe that our development environments are outdated and inaccessible. Feedback loops are painfully slow, and we constantly context switch between different authoring environments. For example, running code snippets in a terminal and then copy pasting the results out into Markdown files. And we're stuck with plain text outputs. This is far from user-friendly. Jupyter Notebooks are a fundamental improvement in all of these areas. You get immediate feedback, and there's minimal context switching since your code, pros, and tests are all in one place. And you're afforded beautiful, rich outputs. But there are good reasons why some people don't like notebooks. For example, testing, reusing, and distributing notebooks is not straightforward, and they don't always play well with version control systems. These and more are gaps that nbdev bridges to make notebooks more suitable for software development. So with nbdev, you simply write a notebook and nbdev handles the rest. It sets up continuous integration using GitHub Actions to automatically test your notebooks. It publishes your documentation using Quarto and GitHub Pages. And it distributes your software to both PyPI and Conda. So you write notebooks and nbdev handles the rest. If this intrigues you, head over to nbdev.fast.ai and try it out. You can also get in touch with the team at partnering at fast.ai. And I am Wasim Logat, or at Wasim Logat on Twitter. As for what's next for nbdev, nbdev started as an open source project created by Fast.ai. After seeing how much traction it got and how much users loved it, we decided to experiment with the idea of commercializing it as a way of funding further improvements to the project. However, over the last while, we realized that now is not the right time for us to commercialize it. We are, of course, still very excited about the open source project, and we are still maintaining and intend to keep improving that moving forward. And lastly, thank you so much to Kara, Abby, and Rima for being such amazing hosts, and to the rest of the co. Thank you.
Thanks, Wasim. And yeah, we love hearing what folks are looking to do with projects, and like as that changes and matures, like that's a really positive process. Let's see, we're going to hear from Daniel about Nuxt. Yes. You're good to go, Daniel.
Fantastic. I'm very much hoping that my screen is being shared. I'm talking about Nuxt. What is Nuxt? It's a progressive framework built on Vue.js, which is a library for client-side JavaScript rendering applications. Nuxt aspires to be a zero-effort start. So it comes with best practices built in, from how to use Vue to how to configure it for SSR, and allows you to customize and take things further as you need to. So it should be completely extensible. And that's always been true. So Nuxt has been around for a number of years, virtually since Vue, the framework, has been around. And all of that is great. But you can read a little bit more about Nuxt at our website, nuxt.com. One of the things that makes Nuxt great, in my opinion, is the modules ecosystem. So it's very, very extensible, and there are community maintained written modules for all kinds of different projects, hundreds of them. And lots of websites are built using Nuxt. People like NASA, Google, even more close to home, GitHub, use Nuxt to build websites and deploy them. Now, a few years ago, we had an opportunity to completely rethink Nuxt. So there was a big breaking change with Vue 2 to Vue 3. Webpack 4 to 5 was happening as well. Post-CSS 8 was out. There were a lot of breaking changes. And also the modern world of websites was changing too, in terms of thinking about where we're deploying, how we're deploying, what a server even looks like. We had an opportunity with Nuxt to rethink what a framework could do that was aiming to build client-side and server-side web apps. So we thought Nuxt. Here are a few of the things that we did and that really define Nuxt 3 today. We made it minimal by default. So we have a lot of cool tricks to remove unused bits of your dependencies or resolve to updated versions. And over at Nuxt 2, we were able to take the sort of unpacked zip space down to just over 3 meg. That's node modules included. If we inline them, it comes down to something like 600 kilobytes. Someone was load test. I did a quick load test of the Nuxt 3 app in production, and the P99 result was just over 5 millisecond render time, which is incredibly fast. As much as possible, we sought to make things minimal. So things, rather than compute things on demand, we can pre-compute them as much as possible. Things like e-tags, or even deciding what MIME types you need to bundle with your app. The framework we built as part of this is really fast. It can be used on its own. It's called H3, and it's benchmarked along with lots of other frameworks and does very well. We've sought as much as possible to hook into the power of TypeScript to improve DX for users. And as much as possible, the move from Vue 2 to Vue 3 was a move from monolith to a more agile practice of importing utilities where needed, being able to call them anywhere, not requiring a sort of central app instance. And so we've really embraced that with Nuxt 3. Not just on the Vue client side, but also in terms of how things work on the server. So we allow users to auto-import utilities. As far as they're concerned, the utilities are available everywhere. And we do the compiler magic behind the scenes to make sure that their bundle is built properly. And those dependencies are only imported where needed. The server itself is fully dynamically loaded. So everything is very optimized for fast cold start. Code is only loaded into memory on demand. And when there are network requests needed within the app, we're able entirely to bypass the network layer. And all of that meant that we were able to go from a cold start in Nuxt 2 of over 300 milliseconds to just over 1 millisecond in Nuxt 3. We've also very much sought to make things universal. So to have deployment targets that work on Dino or Bun, worker targets, obviously Node is there as well. And we've powered that with lots of third-party, with lots of other libraries like in the UnJS GitHub organization that we've spun out for other projects to use. So for example, Brandon's Analog uses quite a lot of these libraries, including Nitro and Unenv. And we support platform auto detection and deploy. So out of the box, zero config support for lots and lots of different platforms, from Vercel to Netlify to AWS, and actually there are quite a lot more that I couldn't fit on the slide. And all of that, as much as possible, we want to make things generic for users so they don't have to worry about the specifics of what provider they choose. So they can integrate with Cloudflare KV, they can integrate with Upstash, they can integrate with Redis, or really whatever they need. We have database drivers, we have key value drivers, we have cache drivers that can integrate deeply with providers without developers who are writing applications built on Nuxt needing to know the exact details. And as much as possible, whenever we build anything for Nuxt, we've brought it out and made it a separate library so people can use it in other projects. And we love to see that. Even if it's not Nuxt, people are using that. That's fantastic. So do check out UnJS. As much as possible, we want to make this our gift to the open source community. What's next? Well, there is a lot that's next. Nuxt itself is growing rapidly. We have a new team that we've put together since the launch of Nuxt 3. It's been about a year. We have a new team as of January this year. I'm leading that. We have a couple of other maintainers in GitHub Accelerator, and we'll be focusing on things like clarifying our vision, working on our governance, and helping people understand where Nuxt is going. The Accelerator has been hugely helpful as part of that. And making that sustainable, not just for one or two people, but for the whole team. If you want to support us or you're interested in finding out more, do go and sponsor our team. you can find us on our GitHub organization, Nuxt, and build a project with Nuxt. I always love it when people build something, or contribute. A PR would be very welcome. You can check out my website, ro.dev, if you want to have a quick call. I'd be really happy to talk about contributing to Nuxt with you if that's something you'd like to do. Follow us on Twitter, or you can join our Discord server at chat.nuxt.dev to discuss a little bit more. It's been a whistle-stop tour, but it's been a real pleasure to present, so thank you, Kara. And we really appreciate the privilege of being part of the Accelerator, which has been such a fantastic experience over the last few weeks. It really is a fantastic experience.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, it's truly cruel that we've asked everyone to do their demo in 5 minutes or less because all of these projects have so much to show, so I'm very sorry. Next up, we've got, there we go. Hey, Jessica. We've got Jessica here to talk about Pypandoc.
There we go. I'm also one of those that don't know how Zoom works in 2023. There we go.
Yeah, it says it's screen sharing, but I can't see what it is quite yet.
There we go, maybe. Can you see this?
Not yet. I know Zoom is like that. It says double click to enter full screen mode, but I just see darkness. Because you're definitely screen sharing. I wonder if what it's showing is the wrong screen.
Yeah, it's stop screen. Let's try again.
Yes.
I swear I work with technology, I swear.
Seems like that. Perfect. Here it is.
Hello everyone. My name is Jessica, and I am the maintainer of Pypandoc. So Pypandoc is a universal, it's a Python wrapper around a universal document converter called Pandoc. I took over the project from another maintainer way back, like several years ago. I asked kindly if I could take over, and they had no issue with this. So cut to today, and I'm sitting here and I'm giving you this short demo of Pypandoc. So Pypandoc is on both the package index and the install of Conda, and there is 2 packages available. Pypandoc is the pure Python version, and Pypandoc binary is with a bundle which a bundle and Pandoc already.
We lost Jessica. No. Sorry, folks. I think her internet cut out is what was going on, which is too bad because Pypandoc rules. So we'll come back at the end. We got to come back for Brandon too. Okay, perfect. So we are going to hear next from Responsively app. Manoj, are you ready?
Yeah, I hope you guys can see my screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Manoj. Glad to join you all for the demo of Responsibly app for the GitHub Accelerator. I started Responsibly app project a couple of years ago and continued the development all along. all the ups and downs of the project, and I'm currently an active maintainer of the project. Those are my social availabilities. You can contact me anytime. Considering the limited time, let's dive straight into the project overview. Let's start with the project's mission, which is to simplify the responsive web development and testing with purpose-built tools. Responsive web development currently poses a lot of practical difficulties, such as the need for testing the web page across different devices, resolutions, and orientations. So, and also not to mention the time-consuming task of resizing the windows during the development. So Responsibly app focus on alleviating these challenges by providing a dedicated platform that offers real-time synchronized preview of the web applications, allowing the developers to easily test and debug the responsive designs across different sets of devices, simultaneously enhancing the productivity and ensuring a smooth user experience. Now let's see how our solution justifies the mission that the project is about. So with a quick demo of our project, let's see that. So now we have loaded the github.com on responsibly, and as you can see, it seamlessly renders the web page side by side on multiple devices, keeping the view in sync in real time. It even goes beyond the visual representation by mirroring the user interactions such as scroll, clicks, and page navigations. In addition to our app includes standard dev tools inspector as well, so it enables you to inspect and manipulate items with just few clicks, and you can easily compare styles and see how it looks on different devices as well. And with that, we have an array of nifty tools that can help you. One of which is the screenshot feature that will help you take a quick full screen screenshot of the web page and share it with your colleagues for a quick feedback and stuff like that. And furthermore, Responsibly allows you to create custom device sets that you can match for the project's compatibility requirements, so that you can add the set of devices that you support and keep testing it and switch between the different sets of devices and so on. Yeah, and this is just a 1 minute review, and there's a lot more once you dig in deeper. Now coming back to the GitHub Accelerator program, joining the GitHub Accelerator has been an incredible milestone for Responsibly. Provided us with invaluable exposure to the industry experts and a ton of practical knowledge on how to do this open source as a career. When we started the program, we set two primary goals for ourselves. First, to expand our sponsorship reach by attracting at least 10 new sponsors during the course, and secondly, to grow our maintainers team by onboarding one new maintainer to the project. Now let's dive into the strategies we employed and how they affected the outcome of these goals. First, to accomplish our first goal of expanding the sponsors reach, we embarked on a series of mini projects. So firstly, we created a dedicated sponsorship page on our website. It's at responsibly.app/sponsor. And highlighting the various ways the sponsors can contribute and the different benefits that they get in return. And secondly, we added in-app prompts for sponsorships. So that's since we have a ton of users on the app, we wanted to direct that user base towards the sponsors page. So we added in-app prompts and we strategically placed the sponsors button in various user-facing contents on both the website and the app for maximum visibility. And as a result of these projects, this happened. So we got a new monthly recurring sponsorship of $50 and a few other minor contributions. So even though it's not a big amount, but it's definitely it's pretty good win for us in terms of the sponsorship milestones. And the second goal to expand the maintenance team, like we implemented several etiquettes and practices across GitHub and our Discord. Like we began creating issues with clear descriptions and guidance specifically tailored for first-time contributors and ensuring proper labeling of issues, etc. And also like we maintain continuous engagement and assistance for the active contributors, so that like they don't like get stuck at a point and they leave the project. Yeah, in addition to that, like we actively identified and reached out to like potential maintainers, and so that like they could be onboarded as maintainers. So as a result of these, like we successfully like added one maintainer to the project, Mohammed, and he's already cracking things responsibly. Yeah. These are the two goals, and they reached the end of presentation. And if you found a project intriguing, like we appreciate your interest and offer ways for you to support us. And if you're a user or an enthusiast, like who shares our idea passionation, like you can like visit our sponsors page, responsibly.app/sponsor, and there you'll discover various ways you can support us. And alternatively, like if you're a developer, then we very much appreciate your tech contributions as well. Join us on our GitHub and help us like shape our product. Yeah, value support and participation of any kind. And yeah, thank you for joining the demo. And yeah, special thanks to Tara, Abby, and Rima for the warm support all along during the program. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you, and thanks for showing us Responsibly app. We are going to go to Sue Spencer to talk about Seamly. Sorry, sometimes Zoom is making me take a second. There we go. Okay.
Hi.
Hey, Sue.
Hey, okay. All of these presentations have been so wonderful. I've enjoyed really getting to know the people, the projects behind the people that I've been talking to for the last 10 weeks. So this has been really good. And it's nice that I'm kind of late in the list because I've had to pay attention to know what's going on. But yeah, let me share my screen. I've let's see, full screen. And can you see? No.
Yeah, looks good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can see the Seamly 2D?
Yes.
Okay, great, because I have two monitors. So you can tell my background is in government because I have really simple slides. So Seamly 2D is a project. We're taking on the second biggest industry on the planet. It's highly proprietary. We introduced open data with human readable formats that are shareable, editable, remixable. And as an unexpected byproduct, we found out that we can actually increase profits and reduce waste by about 60%. So if you follow our method, then your products sell at like a triple rate, and it's because it fits better. And so there's a lot of things beyond the technical benefits that benefit the entire planet. So we're really happy that GitHub chose us because we're not a quote unquote a technical software company that provides services to other technical software companies. We provide services to people who exist outside the open source world. So these are screenshots from our application. As you can tell, we are a CAD application, but because we've revisited this 100-year-old workflow, we've been able to introduce efficiencies and develop tool sets that are finely tuned to do particular tasks. So there's a lot of benefit there. What GitHub did for us, and my slides are a little different than other people. What GitHub did for us during this 10 weeks has been phenomenal. They forced us to revisit our business focus, and we went in and we did our open link canvas from the very, week number 2. So thank you, Abby and Carol, for forcing us to do that, to go back to the beginning and make sure that we were on the right track. And we were able to add a new contributor because we were featured on Open Source Fridays, the podcast. And so we actually added 2, we've onboarded 1 so far. The difficulty with this is that C++ Qt programmers are few and far between. The number of Qt programmers in the world is not growing. And most of them are aging out of the marketplace, just like pattern makers. So there's that. So we're very fortunate to have found 2 additional highly skilled people to join our team. We also were forced to do our documentation in talking about how to onboard, how to get people into your community, which was part of the GitHub Accelerator. We went into Doxygen, and because we're actually 2 applications married together, our Doxygen wasn't working right. We finally put our heads together and finally came up with a solution. So now we have code documentation, which makes things easier on our new programmers. We are looking for advice on how to build a code space with Ubuntu 22.04 and Qt 5.15. 5.15.2, 5.15.8, 15.8, we're not sure. So, and there are some issues with that aren't obvious when you first get into the situation. So if anyone has expertise, please contact us. We are also looking to gather the metrics that people are looking for to evaluate whether your open source project is healthy or not. And one of the things we have that we need to do is get our download counts. We do a rolling weekly release. So our counts per week are low. So we have to download them, add them up, and it's kind of a manual process. So we're developing a script and getting the kinks out. But this script is in our code base. If you'd like to take a look, contribute to that, or use it for your own project and improve it, please feel free. The OSS funding metrics that we found out about during this accelerator, and this was the most brilliant thing of the whole program, that we found out through reviewing this Medium article by Jordan Siegel, that when his company invests in an OSS open source project, the median for seed round is about 28, almost 3,000 stars. We only have 425, even though we have over 42,000 users in our email database. Our users aren't GitHub users, so we only have 425 stars. So we need to find a way to work through that. And we're not on Slack or Discord. We're on Discourse, because we have to teach people not only to use our software, but also pattern making, which is akin to, teaching someone how to do graphic design and teaching them Inkscape, sort of, but we're happy to do it. We feel like we've revived the art of pattern making around the world. And so there are these other metrics that were amazing that really I had no idea what they were looking for. I've only talked to funding sources that are not associated with open source investment. Our metrics, as you can see, are really good from the area where we can get metrics off of our Discourse user forum. Our signups in the last 3 months are up 52%. Our topic is up for 43%. Posts are up 46%. Daily engaged users is up 16%. And the new contributors are up 6%. So we have a lot of people signing up and holding back and learning. But we're, they're not posting, but we have a lot of activity from our existing users, and our growth is really big. So this is amazing. I didn't even know to go look for this until this accelerator happened. And we had that one workshop that was so brilliant. So what would help us from GitHub would be new methods for gathering and driving metrics for both to serve our funding, sort of to gather information about the health of our project, and also to help us communicate the value of our project to the world at large, to both OSS funding sources and non-OSS funding sources. And so the problem is customer discovery. So if there's a way for GitHub to enable sign up for news and updates, a little click box, just like, oh, I want to sponsor. Yeah. Oh, I want to be notified via newsletter. That would be nice. I don't know if that's part of the ethos of open source communities, but it would be very helpful.
This is perfect feedback to you, Sue, because I know we have a ton of folks from GitHub who are watching this and who will watch the recording as well. So this is Okay, we've got like another 15 seconds.
Okay, it's great. Milestones where we became a member of IEEE 3141. Perfect. We're moving to the cloud as WebAssembly. We've got interest from VCs. We just have to prove our value. And because we exist in both worlds, we look a little fuzzy to both worlds. So we need to tighten that up. And, you know, we've got a great market. And thank you, GitHub. We appreciate the opportunity. I'm glad you believed in us.
Seemly 2D is a fantastic project. It's really fascinating. I encourage folks to look it up. It's nice to be working with projects that aren't the ones that we're like seeing over and over again in the technology space. So yeah, thank you so much, Sue.
Thank you.
Let's see, next up. Ooh, Juliana, we got Sniffnet.
Hi everyone, can you see the slides?
Yep.
I'm Giuliano Bellini, and today it's a pleasure for me to be here talking about Sniffnet. Sniffnet is a network monitoring tool which I developed during the past 10 months. Actually, the past 2 months, I was able to work on it full time thanks to the funding provided by the GitHub Accelerator program. Time is short, but I'll make it possible for you all to start appreciating Sniffnet. To make it short, Sniffnet is a powerful yet simple app to monitor your network traffic. Sniffnet is focused on functionality and performance, of course, as any other network monitoring tool. But the feature that really distinguishes it from other popular network analyzers is the focus on user experience. In fact, you may know other popular analyzers such as Wireshark, but you may have not used them because they are generally complex and cumbersome to use. While Sniffnet instead can be used easily by network administrator, intermediate user, and even beginners. And you may ask, how can beginners use a network monitoring tool? Well, I think that this picture, which is one of the main pages of this Sniffnet, explains it pretty well, is pretty self-explainable. Information is displayed in a really immediate and aesthetic way in order for you to grasp every single detail about the gathered network traffic. You can see live charts about the traffic flowing through your network interface in real time. You can categorize traffic by application protocol. You can filter it with various filters. You can see every network host. Each entry is clickable and can be further inspected. You can see every single internet IP address and so on. This application has another interesting feature, which is the ability to get a notification for defined network events and many others. The app is completely developed using the Rust programming language, and I mean really completely, including the graphical user interface. Rust is a modern programming language which emphasizes performance, type safety, and concurrency, which is a really important aspect for multi-threaded applications such as Sniffnet. Sniffnet is viable in practice in every single operating system. It supports Windows, macOS, of course, but also Debian-based Linux distribution, Red Hat-based Linux distribution. And most recently, the application has also been packaged for FreeBSD, NetBSD, and Arch Linux. And I'm willing to introduce support for more operating systems. To make the application even more inclusive, it's available in 16 languages, including pretty much all the most popular languages. And all the languages are being introduced by native speakers, so they should be pretty accurate. Sniffnet received a huge amount of traction and interest. This is a chart showing the most popular GitHub stars of the popular network analyzers. And in pink, you see the growth of Sniffnet, which is pretty stunning and astonishing when compared, for example, with Wireshark. Sniffnet is just 10 months old, and it raised a lot of interest. 1 year ago, it didn't even exist, and it's just amazing that it reached that level of success. But the application is still far from being complete. There is still a lot more to come. For example, I'd like to implement the process IDs for every internet connection. Also, the ability to notify you when determined security event happens, support for ICMP and more features. I didn't even mention the support for reading and writing pickup files, and there are other. And today I'm also announcing that Sniffnet will become installed by default on Linux Blackbox. And this is an amazing achievement for my application. Working on it full time has been fantastic, and I'd love to keep doing it. But to this purpose, I need your support. If you are an individual and use the application, feel free to support it. But even more important is the support of corporate and companies. So if you are a company and you believe in the project, you want to start building a future together, feel free to contact me. You can find all my social links both on Sniffnet official website, sniffnet.net, and on my GitHub profile page as well. Last but not least, I'd like to thank GitHub for this opportunity, because today time is limited, but what's not limited is my gratitude for GitHub for this incredible opportunity, and it's been a pleasure for me to be part of this part. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't know everyone was going to say these nice things. I keep going on camera and then trying to. Oh, it's really sweet. Okay, I am excited to introduce Cam. Yeah, let's hear a little bit about Spyder.
All righty, so let's go. Hopefully it works. Everything look good? Sound good?
It does.
All righty, let's go. So let me make sure I'm on time. All righty. So as Kara said, I'm Cam here along with Carlos for Spyder, the scientific Python development environment. So Spyder is a community-developed IDE for scientific programming in Python, created by and for scientists and engineers just like us. So let me alt tab over there. All right. So pretty much everybody these days in research does some sort of programming or coding, but it's really important that that code be readable, so easy for everyone to understand, reproducible. So not only does it work on all different machines, but also reproduces the same results on those machines, and also reusable. So you can both build upon your own code and build upon others. You know, the whole ethos of building on the shoulders of giants. So our goal with Spyder is to make this process simple, accessible, and fun. And to do that, we've combined kind of the best features of an interactive data analysis tool like Jupyter with the power and customizability of a full-on IDE. So Spyder, it works on pretty much all operating systems, Windows, macOS, and pretty much every Linux distro. We have around 500,000-ish global users. We have over 300,000 downloads per month. And it's actually used by over 3% of all programmers, not just Python, but all programmers, according to Stack Overflow's survey, that are not professional software engineers. So that's folks like data analysts, scientists, engineering folks, and other folks in the community, which is great. We love to see the diversity of Spyder's user base. And finally, we have about 200 issues and PRs per month. So we get quite a bit of activity on our GitHub repo, which has been a mainstay of Spyder's development for perhaps a decade now. And Spyder development team is distributed all around the world. We have folks in like 3 or 4 different continents. And today, of course, we're gonna have the leader of Spyder, our lead maintainer, Carlos, give you a quick demo showing what Spyder is all about. So let's, hopefully this works.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos, and this is Spyder. To the left, you can see the editor, where you can program your code in Python. You can also break it in sections called cells, which can be evaluated independently and are defined by comments that start with this double percentage convention. After running your code, you'll see the results in this pane, which is Spyder's console, and it's powered by a Python, which is perhaps one of the most popular Python interpreters around. All global variables defined in your code are displayed by Spyder in the variable explorer, which allows users to browse and edit those variables if they want to. And plots generated during execution are displayed by Spyder, are collected and displayed by Spyder in this other pane, which also allows users to save them to disk if necessary. Another nice facility that Spyder provides is the help pane, which shows rich text documentation for all objects declared or imported in the editor or the Python console. Spyder also has this code analysis pane, which shows tips on how to improve your code to make it easier to understand and more readable. And lastly, I would like to talk about the files pane, which allows users to browse their file system in a specific directory. Finally, I would like to mention this new pane called the Environment Manager, which will allow users to create new content environments and install, update, and remove packages on them. We have noticed throughout the years that this is perhaps one of the main pain points for users in the scientific Python ecosystem, and it is one of our main bets to make their code more reproducible and reusable, because they will be able to share not only their code, but also the specification of all packages that they have used to program it.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So again, like Carlos said, we're really excited for Spyder 6. We've got some great new features. Again, my favorite is what he talked about, the package and environments manager, because that's something that I've just heard so many users, especially in science, struggle with, and really kind of have trouble wrapping their head around. So we're trying to make that a lot simpler. And we're also really thankful for GitHub for their help. We're actually currently in the process of rolling out a bunch of new features to make Spyder more financially sustainable, like a new in-app appeal for donations, and as well as a new sponsors page, and some new tiers to help incentivize people to donate at different levels, as well as other longer-term things like grants and other funding initiatives. But of course, we also need your help to maximize Spyder's positive impact. So to do that, you can download and try out Spyder. You can contribute back with your own issues and PRs, which is especially helpful if you're a Spyder user, because Spyder is actually perhaps the only tool like it written in Python, not only for Python, but also in Python. And you can also sponsor us on GitHub and on Open Collective. So thanks again for your time. Like we always say, happy Spydering.
Thank you so much, Cam, and thank you, Carlos.
Thank you.
We're going to go over to Patrick to hear about Strawberry.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick. My project is called Strawberry. And just before I show my works and what we've done for the accelerator and what we're planning next, just want to give you a quick introduction what it is and why it was created. So I'm going to kind of assume that you know what GraphQL is, but if you don't know it, it's kind of like REST APIs, but declarative. But yeah, basically Strawberry is a Python library that allows you to create GraphQL APIs in just a few lines of code. It's inspired by data classes, and it leverages a lot the type annotations that have been released in Python 3.0, like the first time, like the proper annotations, but then type annotation a bit later. Yeah, I just want to spend a couple of minutes about, or seconds, since we don't have a lot of time, about why it was created. So the first reason, I really like tools that have a great developer experience. I'm a bit frustrated with stuff that when they don't work, on when, for example, there is an error that, it's pretty easy to kind of figure it out, but like if you get like errors like, trace buckets, takes you a lot of time while the tool can figure that for you. I'm going to show a demo of how that works in Strawberry. And the other things, I really like tools that are really well designed in terms of, the API, developer experience, but also the kind of, website and the logos and things like that. So I really wanted to like a library that had a great design as well. And lastly, I really wanted to have a great community around this project. I used to use other GraphQL libraries, and the community there wasn't really good. And so one of the goals was to make a very, very good community. And I think probably one of the best things in Strawberry is the community. We have a very active Discord, a lot of friendly people, and a lot of contributors as well. So just to show you how Strawberry works, I'm going to do a demo. I thought people were going to do demos like typing, but I'm probably the only one for now, but I'm going to show how it works. So let's say that I'm going to create a GraphQL query, which is basically what allows you to fetch data. And I want to, for example, fetch a pizza. So I'm going to do a strawberry field, and then I'm going to create a field called pizza, which accepts an ID called strawberry.id. And this is a scalar in GraphQL that basically tells that this API is going to accept a unique identifier. So I'm going to do a return. In this case, just going to return like a pizza like this. And if I try to run this, it should work, but it actually doesn't work because there is an issue here. And this is one of the things that we've done to make this library as like very accessible and also like as user-friendly as possible. So every time there's an error that we know about and we are able to tell you what's wrong, we kind of show this kind of model here or message here that, for example, here is saying this result is missing an annotation and you should fix it by doing something like this. So if I do that, that should work. And so now running this code is not going to do any error. If I run the server, I should be able to see the ID that allows you to fetch APIs. And I'm going to try this. I'm going to do pizza ID 1, and I'm going to get the data here. So that's pretty much how it works. And I also wanted to show you another cool feature that we have, which is called generics. We leverage Python a lot, especially the type-ins, and generics are part of that. And with generics, we are able to create a template type, like for example, the page here, which accept a placeholder. And once you use this page and you pass a type in there, that's gonna basically create a GraphQL type using that template. So you don't have to create these types, like repetitive types all the time. So I have an example here. Just gonna change the code a bit. So for example, when I create a page that returns a list of strings, and I'm gonna do just like this. I'm gonna try the server again, refresh the schema, get the pizzas, for example, here, and then the name for each of them. Sorry, just the pizza because I didn't make a type. Oh yes. I'm gonna fetch the items, and now this is gonna work. So yeah, basically just a line of code. You created a type from a template. So if you go and check the schema here, you can see that there is a string page, which is basically a page of strings and the items for strings. And that's for the demo. So in terms of what's next, Strawberry 1 is going to be released hopefully this week or next. We just need to finish a couple of things, remove some things that we deprecated. We're going to do a bit of working on kind of deleting or closing issues that are too old. I'm really bad at managing this kind of things. We also created a Strawberry upgrade command, which is going to allow you to run code mods. So once we release a breaking change, if we do that, or a deprecation change that needs code update, you can run this command, and hopefully that's going to fix the issues. We also have a playground, which I didn't show you, but basically it's a way to run Strawberry on the web, so you don't have to install anything. There's going to be a new version of that. It's going to be more integrated with Docs. And more, hopefully. This is the new website. I haven't shown you that, but if you can go there and give me some feedback, so how it looks, how it loads, I really appreciate that. And if you use Strawberry, or if you want to write articles, then let me know. We want to have case studies on our blog, and also blog posts from community members, and also sponsors. We want to make the library more sustainable. So if you work at a company that wants to sponsor, just let me know, and I'll figure something out. And this is the links. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. I actually got really hungry for strawberries midway through and had to go get some. Next up, we've got Apollo to talk about Termux.
Sorry, I think now I'm unmuted. Hi all, I'm Gnostic Apollo, allegedly of course. I'm one of the developers for the Termux project. I mainly maintain the Termux apps and some of the Termux plugins and our site. So what is Termux? Termux is a terminal emulator app for Android. It provides a Linux environment, including 2,000 Linux packages that you can run locally on your phone without requiring internet connection and without requiring a rooted device. You can check our links below for the site and how to install Termux. You can install Termux from F-Droid and GitHub. So when you install Termux, this is what you get. This is a terminal. You enter commands here and then you execute them. Like the presentation here is too short. I can't really give a live demo. So let's move ahead. So we support most of the common programming languages. For example, C, C++, Bash, Python, Ruby, Java. You can even compile Android apps within Termux locally. You can check the wiki link for the full list, although some are missing there. We also provide standard GNU plus Linux packages like CoreUtils, grepset for normal scripting, etc. We also have Git, the Git package. You can use that to manage your local Git repositories and also your remote ones on GitHub, GitLab, etc. We also have rclone and other root packages. For example, rclone allows you to mount a cloud drive like Google Drive on Android as a local file system, but that requires root. In the screenshot below, you can see an example compilation command for C and Java. So it's basically a Clang and Java command you can see. So Termux plugins. We also support a lot of Termux plugin apps for the main Termux app. For example, Termux API allows you to use Android APIs from the command line. For example, if you want to get your contacts, call logs, SMS location, or take photos or do audio recordings, you can do that with just commands. You can check the wiki link for more info on what APIs are supported. Termux widget allows you to run commands from the launcher desktop with shortcuts and widgets. Termux Taskers allows you to run Termux commands from other automation apps like Tasker. Termux GUI allows you to use native Android GUI from command line, like showing dialogues, activities, etc. Termux X11, that allows you to connect to the full Linux desktop that is hosted by Termux. You don't really need to use a terminal. You can have a full Linux distro style desktop environment on Android. You can use VNC servers or X11 app to connect to that. We also have Termux Float and Termux Boot. So Termux repos, like I said, we have 2000 Linux packages, plus Linux packages. They need to be patched to work on Android. The standard Linux distro packages don't work on Android because of differences, a lot of differences between Android and Linux distros. And they need to be kept up to date with upstream. That's a lot of work for our developers. And we also have 50 plus mirrors around the world. They are hosted by our community members, universities, and companies. Our estimated monthly bandwidth is around at least 100 GB per month. We don't really know how much because we don't monitor that. We only have that for the main primary servers. And of course, that's a lot of bandwidth. Without the mirrors, we wouldn't have been able to support or pay for the costs. So a huge shout out to all the mirrors for supporting us. You can check the following links for how to for more information on Termux packages and how to build them and our mirrors, etc. And so what's in Termux's future? The main priority is, of course, the Termux app releases. I know a lot of community members have been waiting the last few months for the next release, but there has just been a ton of work, a lot of feature requests and fixes to work on, so hence the delay. Also, a lot of work is going into refactoring Termux internally, so that in future Termux can be provided as Termux core can be provided as a library, so that other apps can import the library instead of forking the entire Termux for their own users. Unlike some of the other projects here, we don't plan on going commercial. A lot of our users around the world, especially in developing countries, cannot afford laptops and PCs, but they can afford phones. So having Termux to be free allows them to code for free. So Termux should remain free, in my opinion. But that still means we developers have to work on the app and the package maintenance. It requires countless hours of work every month. So we really need more donations so that our developers can be compensated for their time. and efforts. We currently only get around $100, a few $100 per month. So check out our donation link on our website. You can donate to us on Open Collective and get us sponsors. We also need a lot of package maintainers. We have like 12 active package maintainers, and they are maintaining a few thousand packages, updating them. So that's a lot of work for them. So we really need more developers as well. We also need app developers as well in future, because we also have a lot of plugin apps, so they need work as well. So GitHub Accelerator. Well, it has been a wonderful journey. Firstly, thanks a lot for GitHub for accepting us, Termux, for the first cohort. It has been great listening to other open source leaders and how they are financing their own projects and what worked for them and what didn't work for them. The other talks were great as well. A lot of learning to do. The stipend was great as well. That's going to help with development for the next few months for me. So thanks a lot for that. Special thanks to Kara, Abby, and Rima, and the other cohorts for 10 great weeks. I wish you all good luck, and hopefully GitHub will continue this next year as well, so that other projects can benefit as well. See you all. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Apollo. It's been wonderful working with you. We've got Alex next up to talk about TRPC.
Yeah, sound check.
Sound check's working. There we go.
Cool. Let's see. I'm gonna change. We got it here. All right. We all good. Sound check, video check. Everything looks fine. Cool. So I'm Alex. I'm here to talk about my baby TRPC, TypeScript remote procedure call. And my baby is really growing up. Right now we have over 26,000 stars on GitHub and 260,000 weekly NPM downloads, and we are very close on reaching 300 contributors. So if anyone in this call is keen on joining a cool open source project, TRPC is probably a good one to look at. And the problem that TRPC solves is APIs. So APIs is a pain. We spend a lot of time debating API structures, waiting for code generation, and there's a really disjointed experience between the front end and the backend teams. Let's just look at how we make an API today. Usually when you make an API, you start with some sort of API spec because you need to have a specification to adhere to. Then you might do some code generation to generate some types for your project and some validations for your backend. Then you write the actual business logic in your backend. And on the front end, or your client, wherever you want to use this, you write a query to your API, and then you wait for some more code generation, and then you get a nice hook or something in the case of React. And with TRPC, it's only a case of making a function. You don't have to think about API schemas, contracts, whatever. All you have to do is first write a backend function. Here we have an app router with a greeting that returns hello. And straight away on the front end, you get a typed response when you use this. So you don't have to write anything else. There's no code generation. There's no extra tools involved. It's just the TRPC packages. And to look at TRPC a bit more in action, here's a full TRPC server running with Node.js. I'm not going to go through all of this, but we initialized TRPC here, we create an app router, and then we create an HTTP server. But what I want us to focus on is this part. So here we have an app router, we have a procedure called hello. We take an input argument in that has a name that is a string, and then we return some data on that endpoint here, hello. input.name. What you get as soon as you've written this code is an ability to create a type-safe client on your front end, and you get straight away auto-completion on all the API endpoints that you have, and you get straight away inferred response from whatever you wrote in your backend function, just by the power of TypeScript. All we do here is to export our full backend as a type and import that on the front end. That won't have any runtime implications on your application, but it gives your editor and your compiler hints to be able to just like use your backend straight up. And that is like the gist of trpc. There's a lot of more things you can do with it, but I believe that less is more. With trpc, there's no extra code generation or build steps. There's no YAML file. There's no GraphQL files. It's not tied to like React or Node.js. You can literally run it everywhere. You can write it. You can use edge functions if you want that. You can use it with any JavaScript framework in React Native, etc. There's no dependencies with trpcs. Like we don't have any sub dependencies in the packages. And I really believe that if you have this sort of like rapid way of iterating with your API, you can have better collaboration between your backend and your front-end teams. So some use cases for trpc, obviously full stack web development, but you can also use it in React Native. You can use it for service-to-service communication, or just if you have a lot of hairy APIs, you can use it as a backend for front-end abstraction. And there's a massive ecosystem around trpc. I won't be able to talk about everything, but you can turn your trpc server into an open API, like a Swagger schema if you want that. You can create Chrome plugins, and there's really good starter projects for everything from Expo to Next.js. And you can check out some more on trpc.io/awesome. There is a lot of big companies using trpc. Here's some outlined. Not going to go into detail too much about the companies using it. You can search trpc on Twitter to see what people are saying about it. There's quite a lot of positive noise. And during this GitHub Accelerator, I'm really thankful to have been a part of it. We've been able to use the money to actually pay people to work on trpc, which has been awesome. Me, myself, recently went down to a 3-day work week with my main job. So having some sponsorships to cover those 2 unpaid days is really good. And I've also mainly used the money, the grant that we've been given to pay 2 people to work with me during the summer, which has been really good. And what we've been focusing on is a sort of like a paid product offering for trpc that's coming out soon. The idea with that is to be able to track your API changes a bit easier. Since we don't have a spec, we'll be able to automatically generate a spec for you, and you'll be able to track that over time. So when you deploy new changes, you won't accidentally break your running users' apps. And also, there's a big change in the React ecosystem as well. So we've been working a lot on making trpc work great with React server components and server actions. And that's it from me. My name is Alex. You can find me on Twitter, and you can find trpc on Twitter as well. And don't hesitate to reach out if you want to get involved with trpc, or we also accept sponsorships, so you can you can find the sponsor button on trpc.io if you want that. That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. And Brandon's saying Analog has trpc integration. Alexander's
That's awesome.
Nuxt has one via community module. So anyway, it all ties together. So next up, we are going to come back for Pypandoc. Jessica is calling back in. Awesome. Hey, Jessica.
Okay. Hello. See me, hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, so I am on my phone right now because my computer's internet kind of exploded. So it's going to just be me. So you will get the pleasure of looking at me for my very short presentation. So yeah, my name is Jessica. I maintain Pypandoc. I took it over from someone else many, many years ago because it was becoming inactive and I was making applications and scripts for friends and myself that needed this to still be updated and still be kept up to date with the underlying package it uses. So Pypandoc is a Python wrapper around the universal document converter Pandoc, and it's also cool.
I'm sharing my screen too to show it on GitHub.
Yes, cool. You can also yeah, we'll get to that. Sure, cool. Thank you, Kara. So during the accelerator, I took a little bit of a different approach than most people. I very quickly realized through our amazing guest speakers that they all had one thing in common. All the open source maintainers that were guest speakers in the accelerator had one very important thing in common: personal branding. If your personal brand is really good, you can more or less sell any product as long as there is some kind of a need for it. If I create, my hope is to, in the future, if I create a new package, new application like Pandoc, like Pypandoc, that people will know me from my previous work, from things I've done, like speaking at the open source Fridays with GitHub or open source stories, and know my name and just instinctively check it out. That's probably my number one takeaway is if you have a good personal brand, you can sell anything. So very short, what am I going to be up to for the next 3, 6 months and a year? Well, I'm going to be traveling around to different conventions, meeting the community, and more importantly, speaking at conferences, because that combines what I love to do. It combines tech, it combines meeting people, and it combines traveling. And yeah, if you want to keep up with all my talks or my new projects or my crazy travel guide as a blind woman, you can visit my website, jessicatiner.com. And Kara, you can fill it up if you want. And if you want to get a chance to see me in person, you can come to the Open Source Summit in Spain in September. I'll be giving 2 very, hopefully less error-prone talks, sessions there. So yeah, I look forward to hopefully meeting as many of my fellow cohorts and the viewers and listeners in person. And yeah, if you ever want to tell me about a cool conference, or you want to chat, or really want to get in contact with me, you can reach out to me. My email is on my website and on the GitHub page. And thank you so much for everyone in the GitHub Accelerator, the team behind it, and all our amazing guest speakers. My life will definitely never be the same.
Thanks, Jessica. It's been wonderful working with you. And yeah, like Jessica said, there was a lot of conversation with folks, was like, start a blog, start talking, get out there and chat with folks in person, and what a big difference it makes when you're building community support for a project that you're working on. Brandon, some of you heard at the beginning, but we did have some issues with the audio. So Brandon, I was wondering if you could come back and show us one more time the wonderful work you're doing with the analog.
I can share here. Screen is up. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is about analog. First of all, thank you to GitHub and Kara and Abby and the rest of the team for providing the accelerator. But yes, analog. I get the pleasure of a redo, so we get to tweak some things along the way. So I am the creator of Analog.js, also the maintainer of the NGRX project, which is another project for building reactive Angular applications. And you can find out more about analog at analog.js.org. Yeah, so if I had to summarize what the Analog project is about in a sentence, it would be to help ship applications and websites faster with Angular. Angular has evolved a lot over the years, and it's continuing to grow, and the meta framework space is another space that it can grow into. So what are some features that are involved with meta frameworks? One of this is file system-based routing. Analog supports file system-based routing, where you can define pages or nested routes using files instead of configuration. And all this is built on top of the Angular router. So if you have grouped routes, you can define those here, or nested routes with layouts. Those are supported there. Another feature is server-side rendering, which helps with page performance and SEO. And you can do this through ng-serve with an Angular application. And it supports platforms such as Node, and even newer platforms such as deploying to the edge and deployment to multiple providers, including Netlify, GitHub Pages, Vercel, and more. Also static site generation. Let's say you want to build a blog, you're trying to get that site off the ground finally. It will allow you to do this pretty easily by using ng-build. You can pre-render routes for your blog, and it's just an example of how you can configure those routes there for pre-rendering those. And also have support for API routes. And this is where you can define these routes on using file system-based approach also. So this is setting up a route called products, and will give you a endpoint /API/product, so you can connect to your database, connect to your CMS, and other things you can do on the server there. Analog is also about ecosystems. Analog connects Angular to multiple ecosystems like Astro and Quick, and even trpc. We have an integration for that, and vtest and Playwright, and even Cypress component testing. So it's about expanding there. So there's also another cool project called the Spartan project that you can look up for Analog itself. So for the GitHub Accelerator, we had a lot of good interactions with the speakers and topics. Definitely gave me some great ideas about sponsorship ideas, and how to update my sponsorship profile to better engage with people who are maybe looking to sponsor the project. Also business ideas if you're looking for consulting to go down that route, or I know some of the other projects we're looking at venture VC funding also. And general project stewardship was another avenue that we went down there, got a lot of information on. If you'd like to contribute to Analog, these are a couple of members on the team itself. So GitHub issues, documentation, pull requests, all those are welcome. At this point, we are also looking at sponsorships for Analog. So if you want to check that out, check out the documentation page for sponsoring the project. And with that, we will jump into a quick demo. I just want to show this code here where they have the products page. And then if we bring up the browser, because we're using the file-based routes, as I mentioned earlier, and we have the page here for our products. And like I said, it's server-side rendered. So I could quickly go into the JavaScript panel here and disable JavaScript and reload the page. And we still have an application because we're rendering everything on the server. So excited about the future of the project. Definitely check out the docs and try it out and give us some feedback. Thanks.
There we go. Thank you, Brandon. And you got to go twice, so it's
I got to polish it up, son. I got to wait. I got to do some other ones. So yeah.
Wow. Thank you to everyone who presented today. Thanks for everyone who tuned in to see what the projects in the accelerator have been up to. I want to thank our incredible speakers who came in and shared wisdom with all of us. We had Shauna Gordon-McKeon, Dwayne O'Brien, Dawn Foster, Marco Sarek, Brian Douglas, Caleb Porzio, Evan Yu, Abigail Kabunak-Mays, and Mike Perham and Erica Breska. All made a big difference and really made this possible. It's been an honor to work with these wonderful projects for the past 10 weeks. Like, open source maintainers are truly some of the most thoughtful, giving, and resourceful people, I think, on the planet. And it's upon all of us who depend on software to make this work sustainable for folks to pursue full time. We're very passionate about that at GitHub. And I know a lot of you listening on here are passionate about it as well. So I want to thank everyone who's let us join them on their journey for a little while. And we'll see you all soon. If you want to,
thank you, Kara, and thank you to your team for making this possible.
Thanks. If you want to look at the project list again, they're all on the Accelerator site. So for those listening in, definitely go back and see which ones you've missed. And thank you all. Farewell.